4 a.m. doesn't change your life. Who you become at 4 a.m. does. People think waking up early is about alarms, calendars, discipline charts. Bar it isn't. It's about choosing yourself before the world chooses you. It's about finding the quiet before the noise, the truth before the expectations, the purpose before the pressure. And maybe you're tired, WR, maybe you're overwhelmed, maybe you're standing at a crossroads in your life wondering, is there more in me? Yes, there is. But you meet that more in the hours no one is watching, Bial. Let me show you how the world is loud, but your destiny whispers. And if there is one thing the early hours have taught me, it's that your life changes the moment you decide to listen to what's been calling you all along. At 4 a.m., something sacred happens. The noise fades, the pressure dissolves. The expectations that weigh on your shoulders every day finally loosen their grip. It's the one moment where the universe seems to pause, almost as if it's waiting for you to speak your truth into it. Or maybe it's waiting to speak to you. Think about how much noise you survive every day. Notifications, deadlines, opinions, doubts. Everyone telling you what you should do, should want, should pursue. It becomes so easy to confuse their voices with your own. And somewhere in that chaos, your dream, your purpose, your identity gets buried under the weight of everything external. That's why the dawn feels like a gift. Not because it forces you to wake up, but because it finally allows you to wake inward. There is a version of you trying to rise, a wiser one, a stronger one, a braver one. But that version doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't fight for space in the middle of your noise. It whispers. It speaks softly like something holy. That's why only the ones willing to meet it in the quiet ever discover who they truly are. In the early morning silence, you begin to hear the questions you've been avoiding. What do I really want? What am I afraid of? What have I been pretending not to know? What dream have I buried because it didn't fit the timeline or the expectations of others? But these questions rise in silence, and answers appear without you forcing them. That still, small voice inside you, the one you've ignored for years, finally steps forward. And suddenly, the path becomes a little clearer. The journey feels a little more possible. The fear feels a little less heavy. Some people will call this intuition, some will call it instinct, I call it guidance. A divine kind of clarity that only reveals itself when the world sleeps and your soul wakes up. Most people never access that clarity because they never make space for it. They run from one distraction to another, filling every moment with tasks, conversations, noise. But when you choose to rise before the sun, you are making a silent declaration. I am ready to hear what my life has been trying to tell me. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to have a master plan. You don't even need to feel confident. You just need to show up in the quiet, consistently, humbly, faithfully, and something shifts, something soft but powerful. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to recognize that your dreams aren't accidents, they're assignments. They were planted in you for a reason. The world will always try to drown out that purpose with noise, fear, comparison, expectations. But the early morning gives you back the microphone. It allows you to ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? What do I want when no one is judging? What is calling me that I've been too busy or too afraid to answer? But in that stillness, you learn that your destiny is not a dramatic moment of revelation. It's a whisper that repeats itself every day, hoping you'll be quiet enough to hear it. Sometimes it speaks through peace, sometimes through discomfort, sometimes through a longing you can't explain, but it always speaks. And the earlier you rise, the clearer it becomes. If you feel lost, confused, or stuck right now, don't look for louder answers. Look for quieter moments. The guidance you need isn't out there, it's in you. And it's been waiting for you to slow down enough to notice it. Waking up early isn't about being extraordinary, it's about being available. Available for clarity, available for direction, available for the version of you that God designed long before the noise of the world tried to reshape you. So rise before the sun, Not because you need more hours, but because you need more truth. Wake up early because your destiny has been whispering your name, and now finally you're ready to hear it. Discipline is not punishment, it is love. But most people don't realize that until life humbles them, until the comfort they clung to becomes the very thing that holds them back, until the habits they ignored start shaping a future they never intended to live. The truth is, you don't wake up at 4 a.m. because it's easy. You do it because every time you rise before the sun, you're choosing yourself in a world that constantly asks you to choose everything else. We grow up believing discipline is harsh, rigid, restrictive. But when you look closer, you'll understand that discipline is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you will ever practice. It is the moment you finally say, "Bar, I deserve better than my excuses. I deserve better than my comfort. I deserve better than the bare minimum from myself." There is something beautiful about waking up early, not because the hour itself is magical, but because you are proving that your will is stronger than your weakness, and that proof is important. Not for the world, not for app, laws, but for your relationship with yourself. Because identity isn't built by what you say you want, identity is built by what you repeatedly do. Think of the moments in your life when you felt proud, truly proud. They weren't born from shortcuts. They weren't born from convenience. They came from effort, from sacrifice, from consistency. They came from choosing the long road, even when the easy one tempted you. That's what discipline is. It's the bridge between the person you are and the person you are capable of becoming. Br. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Growth always is. It stretches you. It tests you. It takes you to the edge of what you think you can handle. But here's the secret. That edge is where you discover what was always inside you. Waking up early becomes less about the hour and more about the identity. You stop seeing it as a battle and start seeing it as a conversation. A conversation with the version of yourself you want to become. Every morning, you get to ask, am I honoring my future or abandoning it? Am I protecting my dream or postponing it again? Am I choosing the person I want to be or the person I'm trying to outgrow? But you learn that discipline is not about forcing, it's about aligning. Aligning your actions with your values. Aligning your habits with your purpose. Aligning your days with the life you prayed for. Because prayer without discipline is just wishful thinking. But prayer with discipline is transformation. Dr. There is a quiet dignity in choosing discipline, a kind of inner power that doesn't need validation. You don't have to announce it, you don't have to explain it, you don't have to justify it. Your actions speak for you, your consistency speaks for you, your evolution speaks for you, and slowly you begin to understand that discipline is not something you do to yourself, it's something you do for yourself. It's an act of care, not control, an act of devotion, not deprivation. Because when you love something, whether it's your dream, your family, your future, you protect it, you show up for it, you sacrifice for it, and your life is the most important thing you will ever show up for. When you rise at 4 a.m., you're casting a vote for your purpose, a vote for your growth, a vote for the life you know you're meant to live. It may seem like a small act, but small acts repeated with sincerity have the power to change everything. Over time, the discipline you practice becomes the identity you embody. People will notice, not because you brag about it, but because discipline creates a glow, not a physical one, but a spiritual one. A glow that comes from knowing you are living in alignment with your higher self. A glow that comes from honoring your potential instead of betraying it. A glow that comes from finally realizing that the love you give yourself through discipline becomes the strength you carry into every part of your life. So no, discipline is not punishment. It is the purest form of love. The love that says, I refuse to abandon myself. The love that says, I am willing to do hard things because I believe in where I am going. The love that says, I will rise even when I don't feel ready because my dream deserves consistency. Every time you wake up early, you rewrite your story. And with every sunrise, that story becomes a little stronger, a little braver, a little truer. You may not notice the change immediately, but one day you will look back and see that the life you built was formed through every disciplined choice you made when no one was watching. Dr. That is love. Br. That is discipline. Dr. And that is how you rise. Small beginnings build unshakable foundations. But most people overlook them because they don't glitter, they don't impress, they don't feel big enough, fast enough, glamorous enough to match the dream you carry. We want the breakthrough, not the slow steps, the spotlight, not the silent grind. But the truth is, nothing extraordinary is built in the moment it becomes visible. It's built in the moments no one sees, no one applauds, no one celebrates. There is something sacred about starting small, those early hours when you were still unsure, still learning, still fumbling through the darkness. You may feel unprepared, you may feel behind, you may feel like the gap between where you stand and where you wish to be is too wide to cross. But every great story starts at a point that doesn't look like greatness. Every dream begins as a seed, not a forest. When you wake up ahead of the world, you give yourself permission to focus on the small steps without the noise of comparison. In that quiet, you realize that greatness is not born in giant leaps. It's born in small intentional actions done with sincerity. Writing half a page, running half a mile, reading a few paragraphs, praying for a few minutes. These small acts may seem insignificant in the moment, but they stack, they accumulate, they compound in ways you cannot yet see. We often underestimate what consistency can do because we are hypnotized by the idea of instant results. But consistency is what turns weakness into strength, confusion into clarity, and dreams into reality. Every morning you choose to rise early. You choose to nurture that seed inside you. You choose to water it, protect it, and believe in it even before it shows signs of life. That belief, that quiet early morning belief, becomes the foundation you build everything on. And what a foundation it becomes. There will be days when your progress feels invisible, days when you wonder if any of this effort is even worth it, days when you question why God placed this dream in your heart if the path feels so slow. But slow does not mean still. Slow means you are building something that will last. Something rooted. Something that won't collapse at the first sign of pressure. TPR, small beginnings teach you patience. They teach you humility. They teach you to value growth instead of validation. You learn to trust the process instead of rushing it. You begin to understand that the strength you need for the future is being built quietly in these present moments. These mornings where you show up alone, unnoticed, uncelebrated, that's where your character is being refined. That's where your foundation becomes unbreakable. Look at anything in nature. The tallest trees began hidden beneath the soil. The strongest mountains were formed slowly, layer by layer. The sunrise itself begins as a faint glow long before the world sees the light. Why should your transformation be any different? Small does not mean weak. Small means beginning, and beginnings demand courage. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you are not where you used to be, and that distance matters. Celebrate every inch of progress, because progress is not measured in miles. It's measured in movement. And as long as you are moving, as long as you are rising, as long as you are taking one step forward, you are building something real. There will be days you wake up and don't feel motivated. That's okay. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire. Small beginnings rely on discipline, not excitement, because excitement fades. But discipline, quiet, steady, consistent discipline, builds momentum, and momentum builds miracles. One morning, months from now, you'll look back and realize that the person you've become is the result of every small step you once dismissed as pointless. The strength you carry will come from the small decisions you made with tired eyes at dawn. The opportunities you earn will grow from the small acts of courage you planted in the soil of uncertainty. So don't underestimate the power of small. Don't rush the beginning. Don't curse the slow days. Every great rise begins in the shadows, in the silence, in the early hours when the world hasn't yet awakened to what you're becoming. You are building a foundation, layer by layer, step by step, sunrise by sunrise, and one day that foundation will carry the weight of a life you once didn't believe you could have. Small beginnings are not the prelude to greatness. They are greatness, disguised as humility, wrapped in patience, strengthened through consistency, and destined to bloom. You can't rise if you refuse to leave your comfort. And for most of us, comfort isn't a place. It's a story we tell ourselves. A story that whispers, stay where you are, it's safe here, it's familiar, you know how to survive this. But survival is not the same as living. And comfort, no matter how warm it feels, has a silent cost. It keeps you exactly where you are, even when your soul is begging you to evolve. .dr every time you choose calm. Fought over courage, you shrink a little. Not because you're weak, but because comfort numbs your ambition, softens your discipline, and convinces you that postponing your potential is harmless. But postponing your potential is the most dangerous thing you can do. Your dream is not a decoration, it's a direction, a calling, a responsibility. You are meant to move, you are meant to grow, you are meant to rise. And nothing rises in comfort. When you wake up at 4 a.m., you are stepping into discomfort on purpose. You are choosing to interrupt your patterns, challenge your habits, and disrupt the version of yourself that has been holding you back. That moment when the alarm rings and your mind whispers, just stay, just 5 more minutes, that is the moment you meet the real battle. Not the day ahead, not the workload, not the responsibilities. The battle is between who you were and who you are becoming. .dr. And every morning you choose discomfort, you choose your evolution. Discomfort is not a punishment, it is a doorway. A transition point between your old identity and your new one. Think about it. Every meaningful moment in your life came from stepping into something unfamiliar. The first day of a new job, the first time you loved deeply, the first time you chased a dream no one understood. Growth always demands that you loosen your grip on the familiar. Most people fear stepping into the unknown because they assume the unknown is dangerous. But what if the danger is actually staying where you are? What if the real threat to your future is the comfort you cling to today? What if the life you want is waiting for you on the other side of a discomfort you've been avoiding? There's a kind of magic in doing things you don't feel ready for. That's where courage grows. Not from feeling brave, but from acting even when you feel afraid. That's how you expand. That's how you sharpen. That's how you rise. Every time you take a step outside your comfort zone, your world gets a little bigger. Your confidence gets a little stronger. Your faith gets a little deeper. Waking early teaches you something profound. Discomfort won't break you. It will build you. Those early mornings, when your body is tired and your mind is resistant, are the exact moments that strengthen your spirit. When you step into the cold, quiet air of dawn, you are declaring, my purpose is worth the effort, my future is worth the fight. And slowly something shifts. What once felt impossible begins to feel normal. What once intimidated you begins to empower you. What once scared you becomes the very thing that shapes your strength. That's the truth about discomfort. Once you face it, it stops controlling you. You begin to see discomfort as a teacher, a sculptor. A guide. It strips away your excuses. It reveals your resilience. It shows you that your limits were never real. They were just you. Your comfort zone will never demand your greatness. It will never challenge your habits, test your discipline, or expand your faith. That's why growth feels uncomfortable, because it's supposed to. Transformation requires friction. Becoming requires stretching. Rising requires leaving behind the version of you that settles. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's disruptive. Yes, you will doubt yourself. But fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal that something new is unfolding. Something bigger. something necessary. You don't rise by staying the same. You rise by stepping into the unfamiliar with a humble heart, a willing spirit, and a mind that refuses to settle. You rise by letting discomfort do its work, shaping you, sharpening you, preparing you BR. So step out, step forward, step boldly into the space where your comfort ends and your calling begins. Because the life you dream of, the peace, the purpose, the breakthrough, it won't come knocking on your door. It waits for you in the discomfort you've been avoiding. BR growth has been calling your name for a long time. BR answer it. Even if your voice shakes, .br. Even if your steps tremble, .br. Even if your heart races, .br. Comfort is not your home, but BR growth is. Faith is a muscle, and it grows strongest in the dark. Not when everything is clear, not when the path is smooth, not when the blessings are visible. Faith expands when life is quiet, when doubts are loud, when your footing feels uncertain, and waking up at 4 a.m. teaches you something profound about that darkness. It teaches you how to trust what you cannot yet see. It teaches you how to move before you feel ready. It teaches you how to walk with a kind of courage that does not come from certainty, but from surrender. There is something sacred about being awake before the world. It's the hour when your fears are the loudest, but so are your prayers. It's the hour when the questions you've been avoiding finally surface. But will I ever get there? What if I'm not enough? What if I fail again? But these are the questions the night holds. Yet something else rises with them. The quiet whisper that says, keep going. That whisper is faith. That whisper is the strength that does not announce itself. That whisper is the reminder that even when you cannot see the bigger picture, you are still part of it. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is choosing to move anyway. Faith is stepping into the unknown with trembling hands but a steady heart. Faith is waking up early when nothing in your life has changed yet, but you trust that something will. Faith is believing that your effort matters, even when the results are not visible. Faith is understanding that God doesn't always reveal the path, but He always walks it with you. And the dark hours teach you this better than anything. You learn to rely on something deeper than motivation, something stronger than willpower. You learn to rely on a belief that rises from the inside, a belief that whispers, you are being prepared. Sometimes preparation looks like isolation. Sometimes preparation looks like silence. Sometimes preparation looks like discipline with no immediate reward. The world might call it struggle, but faith calls it shaping.er. There will be seasons of your life where it feels like nothing is happening, but everything is happening. Roots grow before trees rise. Muscles strengthen before movements show. Faith deepens before blessings unfold. And the dark mornings become a training ground, a place where your spirit learns to stand even when everything around you tells you to lie down. In the quiet hours, you realize something powerful. Faith grows best when no one is watching. Anyone can believe when the signs are obvious, but believing when nothing around you validates your hope, that is spiritual strength, that is resilience, that is maturity, and that is what the early morning asks from you. Bar, you show up. You rise. Bar, you pray. At bar, you try. Bar, you learn. At bar, you trust. Not because you see the outcome, but because you believe there is one. And something beautiful happens through this practice. Your faith becomes familiar, not fragile, not conditional, not dependent on circumstances. It becomes a part of you, a posture you carry, a rhythm in your breath. You stop needing proof to believe. You start moving because belief is enough. You begin to understand that faith isn't just a comforting idea. It's a force, a power, a shield. It grounds you when storms come. It lifts you when doubt tries to drown you. It reminds you that you are guided, protected, strengthened, and never walking alone. The world will tell you to trust in what you see. Faith invites you to trust beyond it, to trust in timing you don't control, to trust in growth you cannot yet measure, to trust in a future that hasn't introduced itself to you yet, to trust that the God who gave you the dream has already prepared the road, even if He hasn't revealed it. That kind of trust is built in the dark. .br, so wake early. Not just to work but to align. Not just to grind but to receive. Not just to move but to listen. Let the silence remind you that everything you seek is already in motion. Let the darkness remind you that the light you need is inside you. Let the quiet remind you that faith is not about understanding every step. It's about trusting the one who guides them. You don't need to see the whole path to take the first step up you are. You just need the courage to rise. And the faith to believe that rising matters. Because every time you show up in the dark, you are telling the world and yourself, "Bar, my fear does not lead me, my faith does." But your future self is watching you. Not in a distant, imaginary way, but in a deeply real, deeply spiritual sense. Every choice you make today becomes a memory your future self will either carry with pride or carry with regret. And waking up at 4 a.m. forces you to confront that truth every single morning. It becomes a mirror, silently asking, who are you becoming? And will that person be grateful for the choices you're making right now? But it's easy to live for the moment, to sink into comfort, to believe that today won't matter in the grand scheme of things. But every day is a seed, and one day you will walk through the garden grown from the seeds you planted in your past. Will it be a garden of discipline, resilience, and purpose? Or will it be a garden of hesitation, avoidance, and excuses? Your future self is shaped in these quiet hours, long before anyone sees the transformation, long before others applaud, long before anything looks impressive on the outside. Transformation is an inside job, and the early morning is where that inside work begins. When you rise before the sun, you are making a powerful statement. I am investing in who I want to become. Even if you feel tired, even if the progress feels slow, even if no one knows what you're doing, you're making a commitment to the version of yourself who will live with the results. Think of the person you want to be a year from now, stronger, clearer, more disciplined, more fulfilled, more grounded. That version of you is not created through dreams alone. They are created through choices, through sacrifices, through early mornings when you decide that your purpose is more important than your excuses. Imagine that future version of you standing in front of you today. Imagine their eyes, wiser, more certain, more peaceful. Imagine them saying, "Thank you. Thank you for waking up early. Thank you for trying when quitting looked easier. Thank you for believing when nothing had manifested yet. Thank you for taking small steps even when the destination felt far away. Thank you for not abandoning us. You are, because that's the truth. Every choice you make today is a promise to your future self. And every time you hesitate, procrastinate, shrink yourself, or numb your potential, that future self feels it. They deserve better. They deserve a foundation you can be proud of. And here's something most people don't realize. Your future self isn't just watching. They're depending on you. Depending on your courage. Depending on your discipline. Depending on your faith. Depending on your willingness to do the uncomfortable work now so they can live a life with fewer regrets. Every great story has a turning point. A moment where the main character decides to become responsible for their own destiny. Waking up early is that moment for you. It's not about the hour, it's about alignment. It's about creating a life that matches the vision inside your heart. It's about making daily choices that reflect the person you want to be, not the person why, or trying to outgrow. Your future self will not care how tired you were. Your future self will not care how inconvenient it felt. But your future self will only care that you cared enough to try, that you cared enough to show up, that you cared enough to grow. And there's a beauty in recognizing this. The moment you start honoring your future self, your present self changes too. You walk differently. You make decisions differently. You stop settling. You stop wasting time. You stop entertaining things that drain your spirit. You begin to live with intention, not habit. You start asking better questions. What would my future self be proud of today? Will this choice move me forward or keep me stuck? Is this decision aligned with the life I'm building? Will these questions become a compass? They guide you away from distractions and toward discipline, away from comfort and toward growth, away from temporary pleasure and toward long-term fulfillment. Think of the strongest people you admire, not because they are perfect, but because they made decisions that protected their future. Decisions that felt hard. Decisions that required sacrifice. Decisions that required faith. You have that strength too. You have that capacity, you have that power. And your future self is rooting for you. They are not some distant fantasy. They are the inevitable result of the choices you make now. So rise early, show up, put in the effort, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's slow, even when you doubt yourself. Because the person you're becoming is watching, waiting, hoping you believe in them enough to continue. One day you will meet that future version of yourself, and I promise you will want to look them in the eyes and say with full honesty, "But I didn't give up on us. I did the work, and I'm proud of who we became." Our greatness is not given, it is carved. And carving is not gentle work. It is not soft. It is not easy or elegant or effortless. Carving requires pressure. Carving requires friction. Carving requires the courage to chip away at who you were so you can uncover who you are meant to be. And waking up at 4 a.m. places the chisel in your hand. It reminds you that your life is not happening to you. It is being shaped by you. We admire people who have risen high, but we rarely talk about the carving process behind their rise. We see the success, not the sacrifices, the highlight, not the hidden work, the finished sculpture, not the raw, unpolished stone that came before it. But greatness is always formed in the dark, long before anyone sees the final shape. When you rise early, you enter the workshop of your own becoming. There is no audience, no applause, no validation. Only you, your intention, your faith, and the quiet work that molds your character. This is the kind of work that asks everything from you. Your discipline, your patience, your resilience, your honesty. And the most powerful carving you will ever do is the carving of your inner world. You begin to carve away the laziness that once held you back. Carve away the excuses that kept you small. Carve away the doubts that convinced you your dream was too big. Carve away the habits that pulled you away from your purpose. Carve away the belief that greatness belongs to someone else. With every sacrifice, every early morning, every moment of discomfort, you are removing what no longer serves you. You're chiseling away everything that does not align with the life you are building. You're shaping a new identity, stronger, sharper, clearer. And there is something deeply sacred about this process, because carving is not destruction. Carving is revelation. You are not harming yourself when you demand more from your life. You are revealing the masterpiece beneath your doubts, fears, and limitations. Greatness is not something you create from the outside. It is something you uncover from the inside. It was always there. It just needed you to believe enough to start shaping it. But carving is not comfortable. It is messy. It is emotional. Some days it feels like you're losing pieces of yourself, when in reality you're losing the version of you that was never meant to stay. The version that settled. The version that doubted. The version that feared failure more than it desired growth. Greatness asks you to let that version go, and the early hours become a place of surrender, a place where you learn to let go of who you've been so you can step into who you're becoming, a place where you learn that discipline is not punishment, it is refinement, that discomfort is not suffering, it is sharpening, that sacrifice is not loss, it is investment, that faith is not blind, it is foundational. Every day you rise early, you are carving your future with your own hands. Not because someone forced you, not because you want to impress anyone, but because you know, even if only in a small, quiet way, that you were made for more, that there is untapped power inside you, that there is a higher version of you waiting to be shaped, and shaping requires intention, it requires effort, it requires rising even when no part of you wants to. Greatness is not about talent.br, it is about tenacity.br, it is about persistence.br, it is about commitment, it is about waking up when no one else does, and doing the work others avoid. You don't get to choose the circumstances you are born into, but you do get to choose how fiercely you rise from them. You do get to choose how deeply you commit to your potential. You do get to choose whether you carve your life deliberately or let the world carve it for you. And the truth is, the world will carve you if you let it, into someone fearful, someone passive, someone disconnected from their purpose. But when you decide to carve yourself, when you choose to shape your life with intention, with discipline, with courage, you reclaim your power, you reclaim your story, you reclaim your destiny. One day, everything you're carving now will make sense. One day, the strength you're building will become unshakable. One day, the discipline you're practicing will become natural. One day, the dream you're shaping will stand tall and undeniable. And when that day comes, you will know that greatness did not arrive suddenly. It grew from every early morning, every small step, every act of faith, every moment you chose to rise. Bar, you are the sculptor. You are the stone. Bar, you are the masterpiece in the making. Rise before the world wakes and heaven will meet you halfway. Because God does not bless the dream you talk about. BR, He blesses the dream you work for, DBR. So stand up, BR. Step forward. Move with faith. BR, move with discipline. Move with purpose. Your future is not waiting for perfect timing. BR, it's waiting for your willingness to begin. And remember this truth. But every single morning, you rise with intention. You give God something to multiply.